So although it wasn't completely unified, everybody was submissive to a power, to central power.
Yeah, but this was at least after the Mongol rule, after Moscow broke away from the Mongol Khans and became the sort of leading state in Russia. The one sort of principality, later an empire, which subjugated all the other Russian principalities.
Yeah, it does make sense. Like, because we see that even in modern history, and that how a large threat can unify a people.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about the Mongols now, that can unify them. Like we saw that with the United States, for example, is the prime example where 9/11 made like a huge rise in nationalism in the US, where everybody started to feel as one team again. So I could imagine that it would be some similar effects like that.
Yeah, and of course, it in Russian history, Russia is one of those. United States is a lucky country in a way because it is separated by two oceans from all the other major rivals. But as you talked earlier about Moscow, for example, it is a country and a city which is sort of open to innovations. So Hitler got close to Moscow, Napoleon got in, also the Poles and also the Mongols. So a strong unitary state was necessary for Russia because it is a really hard country to defend. Also really hard country to conquer, but that's also, it's like Russia is a vulnerable country in many ways.
But isn't that a paradox or a contradiction? If it's easy to defend, shouldn't it be easy to conquer also?
Well, I think one of the reasons Russia has expanded so far is that it has also always sought more defensible borders. And it is certainly reached a situation where it's large enough so that the conquerors may take over one part of Russia, but it is still so large that it is hard to rule over all of the conquered territory.
That's interesting. Kind of like a castle that you can retreat to the inner walls type of a thing, and then do a counterattack later.
Yeah, and it is like, it is not unique in the history of empires. Like Roman Empire, it always expanded to include more defensible borders until it controlled much of the known world.
When you say that they attained more defensible borders, so you mean that like we have a border now, but we take some more until a better point that's more easy to defend?
Yeah, well, one could say that, but one problem is, of course, when you conquer a new place, you'll meet new peoples and make new enemies. So there is never sort of a point where you are so secure, and you almost always have to expand. And Russian Empire became so large that and included so many diverse peoples. So eventually it got so large it broke down from within, but that is of course from of course we are still speaking of earlier times, but that is one of the factors in Russian development. A typical thing for empires, they try to expand to become more defensible, but they always remain in some way vulnerable to internal and external threats.
Okay, yeah. It would seem that it would be harder to organize a defense if you have a larger territory, right?
Well, of course, then you have more manpower and more natural resources, of course.
Well, that's helpful to have more bigger armies.
Yeah.
But somehow you need to. I mean, it's pros and cons, I suppose.
Yeah. Certainly. It being a superpower, a great power, has its advantages, but of course, no human-made creation is like invulnerable and without its own sort of faults.
Yeah, yeah. It's making me think of like too big to fail, like some of these American giant companies, like I don't know, Microsoft or Apple, like they can make terrible strategic decisions and still somehow survive.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's somewhat similar.
I think it's a very good comparison in a way. It is like Russia can lose millions of soldiers in a war, but still become sort of always gather its resources, maybe rest for a while and become powerful again.
That's crazy. Hey, thanks for watching this clip of the HH podcast. If you want another clip, press down here to your right. And if you want to see the full unedited episode, press down here to your left. And last of all, please subscribe here in the middle. Thank you.